Hi, my name's James O'Neill, doing this video from Cornwall, United Kingdom. This is a brand new channel that I've started. I do have another channel. I'm going to put a link to that below, where I talk about a lot of things that's going on in this world at this moment in time, and the past and the future. But this channel is going to be called Deadbeatdad. Deadbeatdad's Diary. I'm technically a deadbeat dad, you know. I'm one of those deadbeat dads who left my child, my family, and I have to pay for that because the government have a mathematical formula. They're called the Child Maintenance Service, but I still call them by the Child Support Agency, their old name, so it doesn't matter whether I call them the Child Maintenance Service or whatever. I call them the Child Support Agency. These are the people who collect money off deadbeat dads who've deserted their families. Well, it's not a clear-cut picture, is it? You know, about what happens when relationships break up. My relationship broke up just over 3 years ago. I had a previous relationship that broke up almost 30 years ago with 2 children, 2 daughters. This relationship was, I had a son, and I was forced out of the relationship as I was in the first one. And because women can have a way of making you leave, make you unhappy, so you're forced to leave. And I was forced to leave. And I lived down here in Cornwall, and I was working at the time. I was working 60 hours a week, 7 days a week. And when I left, I started living in my car. So I was working 60 hours a week at a hotel, doing all sorts of jobs, living in my car. And it got too much for me, the stress and the strain. And then one day, my ex-partner, I was watching my lads, he had swimming lessons. So I used to go and watch him, and she came and she gave me this envelope from the Child Maintenance Service, who I call the CSA, Child Support Agency, telling me what I had to pay. And straight away I just knew that my life was finished. It was finished because of their mathematical formula. You can work out what type of life you're going to have by just looking at their graph. So I jacked in my job that night, and I lived off my savings, spent them, gave the car back to the finance company at the age 60 years old. 60 years old living in my car. Gave my car back to the finance company. I then just had a rucksack, and then I moved into a park, sleeping on a park bench. And I'm going to put a video below of the park bench, what I made, because I made these videos when I was homeless, but I never moaned about my situation. I talked about the world and the way it was, because in 2005 I wrote and self-published a book warning there was a financial crash coming. I've always been interested in helping people, and I wrote that book to tell people what was coming, the financial crash that was coming. I wrote about Sir Philip Green hollowing out his companies, stealing the pensions. In 2005 I wrote that. And yet the government, politicians only recently discovered it. I wrote about the aircraft carriers that Tony Blair ordered that have been built now, that are going to cause this country so many financial problems. We don't even have aeroplanes for them. They're in my book. I write about pensions disappearing. It's in my book. I write about so many things that are in my book, but I never moaned about me when I made these videos. But I'll put a video below where I was living in the park, and you can see the park bench where I lived. But then there came a time where I was 61 years old, living in the park, sleeping on this park bench. I finally got somewhere to live, and I'm grateful for it. I've got this apartment, this flat. It's a housing association. So I've never cooperated with the Child Support Agency, never. I've never cooperated with them because I don't agree with them. It's not about money. It's about the principle. I'm a deadbeat dad. Nobody's ever listened to my story. Nobody's ever met me and said, Jimmy, why did you leave home? Jimmy, why did your relationship fall apart? What happened? Nobody did that the first time with my first missus. She was a vicious, nasty piece of work, my first one. You can't help who you're attracted to. The second one, what a selfish bitch. Selfish, self-centred, me, bitch. I'm going to talk about my relationships in future videos, because I'm going to talk about a lot of things. But at this moment in time, I knew there was a crisis coming. So I'm going to tell you what happened. I got this apartment, and I got it at just the right time because I was very ill. Living on the park bench had made me ill. It made me really ill. I had to go to the hospital a couple of times. I was in so much pain. Sciatica and stuff, and my body broke down. It was like I got the flat in winter, you know. I lived there almost for one winter. I was just getting into the second winter, and I got the flat November the 28th. And I was in a bad state when I got this flat for a couple of months. I had to sign on Jobseekers allowance for money. And when I was living in the park, 61 years old, I was signing on Jobseekers allowance because that was the only money I could get to live. I didn't steal and I didn't beg. And the Child Support Agency caught up with me when I was signing on Jobseekers allowance, sleeping on that bench at the age of 61. I used to get £73.60 a week, or £73.40. And the Child Support Agency took £7.40 a week out of my Jobseekers allowance, a 61-year-old man sleeping on the bench. Now, people might find that hard to believe, but what I've got to tell you is there is no mercy for the man. People don't want to know why his relationship split up. People do not care. Bureaucracy, government, politicians do not care. You are going to pay money. We will tell you what you will pay. In this book, it tells you what you will pay. It doesn't ask if you are sleeping on a park bench. It doesn't ask if you are 61 years old. It doesn't ask, did the woman bring about the breakup? Because you, the man, are responsible in this book. You are 100% responsible for the breakup. And if you are homeless and 61 years old, sleeping on a park bench, in the open, you will pay some of your job seekers allowance towards the maintenance of that child. So I paid £7.40 a week out of my job seekers allowance. So when I moved into the flat, it carried on. I carried on paying £7 a week. And I just about survived. I was left with, I forgot what it is. Let me just check. Well, I'll write down what I was left with. So I was left with £60 odd a week to live on. So remember that figure. I was left with £60 odd after they took the £7.40 a week off my job seekers allowance. I think it's £64. And I just about survived. But at the job centre, when I signed on, I said, you're giving them my money, you're allowing them to take that money out of my job seekers allowance. He went, well, yeah, we've got to, Jimmy. I said, well, you do know that that's my water rates money. And he went, what? I went, well, I've got council tax to pay. I'll admit I've got no rent to pay, my rent's paid. But I do have to pay a bit of my council tax. I paid £22 a month. I said, but I can't afford to pay my water rates because I've got to survive. You see, I had to buy these boots. I remember buying these boots because my old boots, what I had when I was homeless. So I bought these boots. This is what I wear. And you can see the soles. The soles are knackered. I wear these boots when it's not raining because I'm running them into the ground. I don't wear the boots that have got a good sole. I'm saving them for the winter. And this is how I've lived the last couple of years. I have boots. These boots, the soles go on them. But I can't afford anything else. They're cheap. And I told them this, you know, I was telling them I've got these things to pay. I've got a flat with nothing in it. I've got to live my life. He said, well, you know, you don't have to pay your water rates, Jim, you know, because you're so poor. So I said, well, will you write me a letter telling me that? Oh, no, we can't do that. I was told that by my assessor. It doesn't matter anyway, I'm going to get away from that. I fucking hate the job centre. I hate the people who work there. So, I'm now living in the flat. I've got this, I'm in really bad health, but I slowly got a bit better. And then I got a job, 20 hours a week, a local store, and working in a cafe. And it's worked really well in a way. 20 hours a week is enough. I do 2 8-hour shifts and I do a 4-hour shift. Now the day after the 8-hour shift I have to take a lot of painkillers. So I work Friday, Saturday I'm taking painkillers. Even Friday night I'm taking them. I have to get up in the middle of the night. Saturday, day off, I'm not too bad. Sunday, do a 4-hour shift, a couple of painkillers again. Monday, 8-hour shift. I usually find I'm taking a lot of painkillers Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, I'm just about right, ready for work. On the Friday again. Because my body's knackered. But I've hit a new situation now with the child support, and it's been going on quite a while. But what I've done is I've wrote to the council about it, and I'm going to explain what's happened. And I'm going to give you an example of my last wage. For 80 hours for the month, I got £640. 640. The child support agency took, by court order, because I've never cooperated with them. You can't meet anybody, all you can do is talk to people over the phone or write letters, but you can never meet anybody face to face. And it doesn't really matter anyway. Personally, I don't think I should pay because I was forced out of the house. Why is it 100% my responsibility? I was forced out of the house. I don't see my son now because my partner's made sure of that. She influenced my son over a couple of years. She was planning this 2 years before, which I'll talk about in other videos. So I was forced out of the house and I just won't cooperate. There's nobody to talk to, there's nobody to speak to. It's just a voice at the end of the phone. So they took a court order out on my wages, and my gross wage was £640. The child support agency took £256, which then left me with £384. I'm going to leave this below. Now, the thing is, I'm going to tell you what an unemployed person pays. An unemployed person gets £294 a month, and they only have to pay £22 council tax. I was left with £384 for 4 weeks after doing 80 hours work for a month. The council helps me with my rent and my council tax because I don't earn enough. I don't earn enough to live, and I appreciate that help. There are people all over this country who work part-time who get help from the government and local government, and I appreciate it. But because of the child support agency, I'm not left with enough to live on, because the council have worked out that I have to pay £172 towards my rent. That's what I paid last month. It changes every month, I don't know why. But last month I paid £172, and I started writing letters to the council saying, this isn't right. Because what happens is, when child support have their mathematical formula, just take money off me. The council have their mathematical formula that tells them how much I earn, so how much I have to contribute towards the rent and how much I have to contribute towards council tax. Fair enough. But what happens is, the council do not acknowledge that I pay child support by court order £256. They don't acknowledge it. They look at my gross earnings. But if I went to a bank for a loan and I said to them, oh, I want to buy something, I want to buy a car or something, the bank would look at my deductions and they would say, well, you're paying all that money out, so you've got no money to pay back your loan. And I'd say, no, my gross wage is this. And they'd say, no, you might have a gross wage of that, but you've got that money that is deducted, that is never yours. You earn it, but you never see it. And this is my point. I never see that child support agency. It's not my money. I've earned it, but it's gone. It's never in my possession. I never see that money. I am never able to purchase anything with that money. It's taken from me by the child support agency. It's taken. It's not given, it's taken. And then what they do is, it's as though they've mugged me, and then they've just threw what they've left on the floor and said, go and live on that. It's as though I've been mugged. It's like a mugger gets your wallet, takes what he needs, and then just fucking throws the rest on the floor for you to survive on. That's the way it feels to me. So I've been left with this bit of money to live on, £384 a month. But I have to pay £172 rent because the council do not acknowledge that that money's been taken off me. They reckon I've got that money. They actually say, I've talked to a woman on the phone, and they say, no, you've got that. And I went, no, I haven't got the money. She said, well, we say you have. You've earned that money. I said, well, I haven't got it, I never see it. So they're adamant. So I started writing letters to try and get them to put it in writing that they do not acknowledge this money, and they won't do it. So I wrote to this guy because I got a threatening letter about my council tax. I was paying council tax. I was paying what I felt I could just about afford, £42 a month. I felt that's all I could afford. And I was getting bills for like 90, 80, blah, blah, blah. And I got a couple of threatening letters. So I started writing to the council saying, can you not understand my predicament? I'm not being left with enough to live on. I'm not being left with enough to survive on. There's a minimum in the country. The government has stated that there is a minimum level of money that you need to survive. I've gone well below that. I'm below an unemployed person even though I'm working. The money I am left with is below the legal minimum. So I wrote to the council and I sent them a few things which I'm going to explain about. And I actually said in the letter, I would like to go before a judge, take me to court. Take me to court and I will show a judge what is happening to my life, what's being done to me. And I will explain to that judge that there's no money. There's not enough money to survive and pay the bills. Anyway, I've had this incredible feeling of doom about stuff that's going on in life, which I talk about in my other video channel, but also in my personal life. And actually early last week, I told my doctor I needed to up my dosage of depression tablets, anxiety tablets, call them what you want. My doctor put me on them when I was 61 years old, living on a park bench. Obviously I needed them. Life was hard, life was stressful, it wasn't great. In a way I enjoyed it, but there was no future in it. And my doctor put me on anxiety tablets because I was having a lot of problems. And I just knew something bad was going to happen. So I asked my doctor to up my tablet dosage. So I got the tablets Friday morning last week. I goes into work and a massive row with somebody who's a nasty person in work. Massive row. Put me in a terrible mood. I actually nearly quit my job. Quite like my job, but it's the stupidity of people. That's what it is. It's the stupidity of people. And I came home from work feeling absolutely awful. And there's a letter waiting for me from the council. I got a reply. What we've just done with it. It's basically a threat. And this letter from this guy in the council, what's his name? Well, I won't say what his name is because he might take offence and he might try and ban this video. But it's a guy and he's wrote me a letter threatening me and he's telling me about court costs and blah blah blah. And he's sent me a new payment plan for my council tax. And it's basically saying pay this or else. And they want £96 a month off me. Well, I've told you, I get £384 a month after the child support. My rent was £172 last month. So if I pay their £96 a month, that means I'm left with £116 to live on for 4 weeks. I've got fucking holes in my boots. I don't pay me fucking water rates because I can't afford them. I just bought a TV recently. I managed to scrape the money together for a TV about 2 weeks ago. So I've decided, fuck it. Fuck it. I'm going to do this diary and I'm going to pay that £96 a month. But I'm also going to pay for my TV licence because I was thinking of dodging it. But I've decided I can't afford the stress because I've already had the TV people turn up a few months ago when I never had a telly. They can just turn up at your door at any time. So I've got the stress. It's £1,000 fine for my TV if I don't have a licence. I know I could fight it. There's like, is the BBC a right lot? I've seen all of it, but I can't afford the stress. That's why I've upped the dosage of my tablets, anxiety tablets. I'm going to pay whatever rent because it changes every month. Don't know why. I'm going to pay whatever rent, so it's £172 a month. I'm going to pay that £96 a month and I'm going to pay my TV licence. And then I'm going to survive on what they fucking leave me. I should get, by law, I should have the equivalent of an unemployed person a week, which is £73. And I should get a £5 bonus for going to work. And then everything after that is taken off me, which I accept. It's taken off me towards rent and council tax. Towards rent. I accept that. But I am going to be left with far less than a person who is just unemployed and just sits at home. And I'm 61 years old. I take loads of painkillers. Fucking loads. I'm on the strongest dose. This is a condition that's been going on 30 years. It's getting worse. It's been bad since last Friday, stress and all sorts. So what does this stress do? Well, I lead a strange life, which you'll know by my other channel. I've got a newspaper cutting. That's the front page of a newspaper, and I'll tell you the date. September the 30th, 1995. I used to have about 30 newspapers, pages. They were all fathers who committed suicide. This is 1995 is when the child support agency started. This is like when my first relationship broke up, just before. It's a few years before. And child support agency came in with their brutal regime of fucking deadbeat dads being punished. Again, they never listened to the fathers. It didn't matter who broke the relationship up, the man was going to pay. And he was going to pay and pay and pay. A lot of fathers committed suicide. And I had about 20, 30 newspapers of fathers who committed suicide, and every one of them had a job. And they were all ordinary people. There was policemen, firemen, joiners, bricklayers, people with ordinary office jobs. And these guys were committing suicide. And this guy, very sadly, his name was, front page news, hang on, let me just find his name. Philip Mitchell, his name was. He killed himself, but he also killed his 4 children. He had access to them. And he killed them. So he committed suicide. Very sadly, he took the life of his children as well. There's no details of his breakup. There's no details of what happened. But this man's life was so fucked up. He killed himself, as did all the other fathers. There was a surge of fathers committing suicide because of the child support agency. It was in the papers, and then it was buried, it stopped. The newspapers just left it alone. And the thing is, at the time, I wrote to every MP. So when it gave the area where they lived, or the town, let's say Doncaster, or a section of Birmingham, Handsworth in Birmingham or something, I would write to the MP for that area and say, have you got a comment on the father who committed suicide, the unfairness of the child support agency, blah. I used to write long detailed letters. I only got one reply. I can see Austin Mitchell now whinging and whining in the papers about Corbyn's Jewish fucking, the way he's like, I had a Jewish grandfather who died in the Holocaust, and Corbyn is anti-Jewish and blah blah blah. Well, I wrote to Austin Mitchell when he was MP for Grimsby, because one of his constituents committed suicide, a father. I never got a reply, because he didn't give a shit for that fucking guy. He didn't give a shit about the unfairness of what's going on in this country. Because in my book, I write about how families are being broken up deliberately. I did a video yesterday on my other channel about how families are being deliberately broken up. There's an evil elite. They're breaking them up so they can get to our children, so the state can control our children and do things to them. There's a future planned for this world, and it's not a very good future. And it requires the breaking up of fucking families. So you had this guy, Philip Mitchell, who's killed his 4 children, and it's a sad case. Now a lot of women will go, yeah, the bastard did this, the bastard did that, yeah, men this, men that. Well, yeah, here's some newspaper clippings from March and January of this year. So we'll deal with the January one, yeah? No one will separate me from my babies. Final message left by mum who killed herself and 2 children with drugs over fear she may lose custody. The father was going to court for custody of the children. So she killed herself and killed the 2 kids. Here we are now, we've gone from 1995 to 2018. 23 years later. March this year. Leslie Speed. I'd rather he was dead than living with his father. Custody round mum's vow before strangling son aged 7. But she didn't commit suicide. She just killed her little boy. I hope this pain lasts until your dying breath. What custody battle mother wrote to ex before strangling their 7-year-old son with a scarf. It's not so clear cut now, is it? It's a fucking mess, the breakup of families. But governments are now organising the breakup of families. And the thing is, I'm now under fucking proper stress because of this council official will not acknowledge my problem. He will not acknowledge my true situation. He will not acknowledge the financial burdens I am under. He will not do it, this guy at the council. I'm going to read you something from my book that I wrote in 2005, where I talk about suicide. I was talking about the suicide of David Kelly, which I actually think was a murder. The pressure that guy came under from the council, from the government. But listen to this. This is written in 2005, so you've got a Labour government, Tony Blair's government, that's fucking all promises. You know, they're the boys, they're going to sort out this country. In the early days of the present government, there was a story in the national newspaper about an elderly lady, about 86 years old, from Doncaster. The story explained her husband, who had dealt with all official matters due to her health conditions, had died 6 or more months before. The story was reporting how police officers and bailiffs had gone to her house as the courts had, in her absence, sentenced her to be put in prison for non-payment of council property tax in her absence. When the police and bailiffs arrived at her house, they found she needed 2 walking sticks to just stand, never mind walk, and she was 80% blind, and her mental facilities were for her age extremely poor. She knew nothing about the non-payment or the court case. It was beyond her understanding. She struggled to understand why they were there. The police by now were actually having to face the problem of a possible serious disturbance by neighbours who had seen what was happening and were gathering around the house and were now threatening the police and bailiffs for what they saw as victimisation of this helpless elderly neighbour. It became tense and the elderly lady became distressed. More police arrived and the situation simply got worse. The bailiffs and police phoned the council official and explained in detail what the elderly lady's condition was, and the council official just told them she owes the money. The courts have said she goes to prison, so take her to prison. It was reported that the bailiff and some of the police officers were visibly upset and in tears. When she arrived at prison, they took her walking sticks off her, as they were classed as weapons, and had to put her immediately in the infirmary as she was not fit and able enough to be in the actual prison wing. She needed total care. To be a politician, you have to be like that council official, totally heartless. And that's what I'm going to talk about, the heartlessness of officialdom, in putting me in this situation where I am on so much less than an unemployed person who've no work. Admittedly, it's only part-time, but I should have the equivalent of an unemployed person plus an extra £5 a week, £20 a month to live on, but I'm not, because the Child Support Agency's mathematical formula for life and the local council's mathematical formula for life do not tally. They do not acknowledge each other. And even though I've tried to get them to understand this and get them to talk about it, they won't. Suicide. I don't know where it's going to go. I had this feeling of doom over a few weeks ago, and it mounted and it happened on Friday. I now have this feeling of doom for the next few months because I'm going to pay what they tell me. They've threatened me. I'm going to pay it.